Welcome, friends, back to the Unwritten Earths Symposium podcast, where I am here with my good friend, Aphrodite Ravishal, to talk about truly true role-playing games in their design, in their adventures, in all of their various forms.
And I'm here with my good friend, Nathan Paoletta. We're gonna just today's an off day. Today's
It's a
podcation.
We're on Podcation, which is not vacation from the podcast, but it is we don't really have anything in particular planned to talk about. So it's a senior free day.
Yeah,
I don't know if you ever had those. I don't know if they do them anymore. I wonder. I feel like even since I was in high school, I feel like my sense is that the general permissiveness of what schools let kids do has really gotten pretty dire over time. But once upon a time, we'd have like near graduation, like at the end of the school year during final time. But when people still had, there were still classes, but there would be a day, or senior ditch day is what we had. Yeah. Where it was like a sanctioned seniors don't go to class day.
From anecdotal evidence, which leads into a topic that we might want to talk about.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, several of, I really don't know how these people are related to me. The daughters of Emily's cousins. So they're my...
cousins. I believe those are removed cousins, I believe.
Okay, so cousins-in-laws once removed.
Something like that.
Anyways, a genealogy expert can tell us, and
we could look it up, but we're not going to.
Yeah. But it was their graduation, and I heard tale of the fact that they had already done the ceremony and had done all of their finals, but still had half a week of school left, and they just didn't go. The principal was like, remember, you still have half a week left. They literally have their diplomas in their hands. No, not going to do it.
Yeah.
But that's not the topic. The topic is greeting cards. Have you purchased a greeting card lately?
In the last year, I have purchased some greeting cards. I would say, I feel like we have a pretty regular cadence of like going to a family thing and getting a card for, a cousin or a child of a relative kind of thing. Most of the greeting cards in my immediate life are made by a 5-year-old. So that's a different world of greeting card experience.
It's good when you can exploit child labor like that.
Look, she volunteers.
They're expensive. Okay, let me describe what I mean by expensive. $6 to $7 baseline, somewhere in there, which is like 2 issues of Worlds Without Master. I'm looking at my prices, looking at greeting card prices, and going, I am in the wrong business. And of course, it is possible to write role playing games that fit on greeting cards. And now I'm like, should I be writing some role playing games on greeting cards? Like
a happy Vast and Starlit to you.
Yes, yeah, but like absolutely Vast and Starlit. Like just joking with someone online about this, because almost all greeting cards now have like gimmick thing going on. Like they're bedazzled, or they have like a song that plays when you open them. And like, if I had a theme song for Vast and Starlit, and every time you opened that rule book, it played that theme song, that would sell the game. It would be really cool the first 3 times you did it. And then you would be like, you would soak the game in water to kill whatever it was that did that.
It needs an off switch as well. Yeah.
But that's just the thing, right? Like greeting cards have these really neat form factor. They have to. They like the sea of cards that they're in, and the schmaltzy things that they say that like don't in any way make them stand out against the others. So they have this other thing, this graphic design, this construction, and it really got my brain like ones with moving parts or pop-up sets and whatnot. And
I think the greeting card world, I think, mirrors kind of a lot of a lot of things, but mirrors our world in that there are 2 overlapping spheres of greeting cards, one of which is the mass-produced, we need more gimmicks in order to make these stand out cards. And the other is the, like, you know, local artisan, screen printed or letter pressed, you know, small batch kind of thing that, you know, in my family, people generally get those kinds of cards. It's what everyone kind of likes.
Your family's better than most.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I know.
I'm just as a trend, it's just a thing. I feel like at one time those were more expensive, and now they all cost what the handcrafted artisan ones cost. Which means that those should probably start costing more, right? Like that's kind of circling back to like we're in the wrong business. Once the mass market stuff costs more than the niche stuff, you either need to start pricing higher or lower.
Yeah. I definitely thought of like greeting cards that you could be like aimed directly at role players, because that is, I have to say,
a market.
That is a market, right?
Yeah.
Like for your forever DM.
Yeah, I mean, if you go on like Etsy right now, you can get, I'm sure there's shops that do those kinds of cards.
Yeah. That's probably that. I'm just thinking of an Etsy shop. That's all I'm thinking of. Nobody, like, people have already done all these things but you know, I was just enjoying the weird things that are in greeting cards, you know.
I recently had a birthday, and
happy birthday.
Thank you. And of the non-made by 5-year-old cards that I received, one was like baseball themed. So it had like stitching, like a separate like a fabric coated procedure to simulate the baseball stitches like on the cover.
Right, yeah.
And then it's like 2 layers of paper so that it like goes through it. It actually has a little bit of raised like 3D-ness. And I did have this thought where I was like, I bet this was just like at Walgreens or whatever. But you know, it's nice. Like it's a cool effect, and it's not like too crazy over the top.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of possibilities there. I start going down a similar road from looking at how children's books are made.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of kids' books that have a lot of interesting production things that clearly, you know, there are companies that specialize in these things and have these capabilities. And you could do a lot of interesting things with a role-playing game with some of these, like, you know,
like the board books,
like board books where there's like cutouts and stuff like that. There's that kind of like probably kind of a little gimmicky, but just even thinking about in terms of just a regular, instead of doing like perfect bound soft cover, doing like these larger format books. I'm thinking of like these, you know, full illustration, you know, like when the pages are like fully illustrated, and then you have all this space to work with to place text and stuff like that. So it's not even like a gimmicky thing about the form. It's more like, what have you conceived of the game? You know, we both mostly write a game and then like figure out how to present it. But
like the text is just on a like an area of like, there's a 2-page spread of art, and one of the hills just has like a little bit of a whited out faded area where a little bit of text is, right? Like that kind of
that kind of stuff. And just the potentials of like approaching a project from that direction. There's just a lot of things that we could be doing that are either difficult because of our own creative boundaries of like trying to think outside our own blinders, but also having a artistic partner who could do that kind of illustration. Like that is a barrier that we'd have to overcome. Having a game that benefits from that presentation. And then actual production concerns, how much it would cost and everything.
The thing you're just talking about production-wise is close enough to what we're doing. But like when you start getting into like doing greeting cards or there's a book I have. It's the Millennium Falcon user manual or something like that, technical manual or whatever. But it's a thick board book style thing where there's like a transparent plastic, and then basically it's the layout of the Millennium Falcon, but each time you turn the page you're kind of going down one level deeper into the technical specs, like, so you're just like peeling away this part of that part, so there's like a bunch of like clear areas that you look through to see the whole thing. But then anyways, it's really neat. I bought it as an adult because I thought it would be something I would have loved as a kid, and probably Usborne did it. Like that they do those kinds of things, and I was just like, I don't even know how to go around wrangling the production of something like that. Like, who do I talk to about putting that together? And
a couple of Simone's books are one's Swan Lake and one is the Nutcracker, and they're these very beautifully illustrated books. Yeah. And then each spread has a place where you push it, and it has the back cover is thick and has a speaker in it and whatever components you need for this. So on every spread, the right hand page, which is the one that's over that back cover, right, has a little place on it that you press, and it plays a couple bars of whatever the song is from that section of the ballet. And then when you get to the back, it has them all arranged to like, so it's a little bit of like an educational, like, here's all the songs, you know.
That's really neat.
And a little biography of the, you know, Tchaikovsky or whoever, and all the names of them and everything. So you could just be on that and just like, you know, press the buttons. But yeah, in the design of the book, it just has this really nice. It's just really nice. It's just like I mean, it's a combination of the really beautiful illustrations, a really nice condensing of the story down so you can like read it to a kid, and then it has like a good quality microphone, so it actually like is nice to like hear the little music thing. So they have this like fabric wrap covers. It's great.
Yeah.
And I'm always a little like, this is a really neat model for like just putting a thing like this together. It is from a mass market publisher. It is not cheap. You know, like it's there's a lot of concerns.
The two books are probably, once you strip away the artwork and like they're the same.
Right.
Like, you know, like they probably like they built an entire assembly line to make books like this. And none of us have that, unless
you do, in which case, get in touch.
Yes. Well, I was going to say, because you and I were talking a little bit beforehand about the joys and perils of hand assembly, right?
Yes,
like this is because there are a lot of things we can do, and like there's some. Oh, man, I'm trying to think of the name of the game. This was in the aughts. Oh, was it the Samurai, where the samurai comes to the town?
Oh, Kagamatsu?
Yes, and thank you. With the least amount of description I could possibly offer, you managed to nail it. But there were special editions of ones, those which were each was unique, hand sewn. I think like to kind of represent kimono fabric or something like that. Like I can't. I might be misremembering important cultural details here. So the point is that they were like there was this limited run of them that were all very gorgeous and hand done, and like we could do that like that. Like you don't need an assembly line to do that. You just need the time and the know-how and the wherewithal. But why didn't I come up with like another compound word for time? That would have been great. Your three stats are time, know-how, and wherewithal.
Right. This might be, this is kind of a good grist for a bit of a train of thought. Yeah, along the lines of specifically thinking about greeting cards as the medium for some game stuff. So that I have a couple thoughts. So one is working with the constraints of the card, right? And even cards that you can go get right now play with this, where they have things that fold out, like, you know, they're like accordion folded, and they come out or make like a scene, or like pop-up cards where they're flat, but then I'm sure people have seen these, but I'm trying to describe it. They're flat, but they're made of like the image is made of interlocked pieces of like usually like plastic that's been, you know, printed with whatever the design is. So then when you move the front, when you pull the front away from the back, the pieces in the middle all kind of pulled together. It's like it's a pop-up book, but in cardboard.
Yeah.
They make like a little like snow globe or Christmas tree or birthday cake or whatever. But then it's like a little 3D thing that can sit on a table and is cool.
Right. I know exactly. Like they're sometimes like the crepe paper ones or whatever.
Or
like,
I think those are the old school ones, are like the crepe paper ones where they open out into like a banner. That kind of stuff. So like those are more display oriented in terms of just working with the constraint of like you basically have only so many surface area inches to put information on. So like there's that. The idea of something that comes in an envelope is interesting.
Like a plain manila folder.
Yes, like a plain manila folder, maybe with a sticker or something like that.
Yeah, like
but no, I'm
stickers and
I'm thinking of like one of the main issues with doing non-standard form factors is that they're either hard to mail or they're hard to have in retail, right?
Yes.
And greeting cards have a whole retail infrastructure that exists to display and show them. What about when you get a card set? Like that's more like thank you cards, but like, or like birthday cards or something, where it's like a little box that has 10 cards and 10 envelopes in it or something like that.
Yeah. The cards on one side, the envelopes on the other.
Yeah. Like if that's the unit, right? And each of those is either like the thing that a player uses or they're all different and have different things. Tiny box set is basically what that is, but
yeah. There's Valentine's Day, right? Like in school where man, I don't know if they do this anymore. I'm old, but back in my day, you would go out and you would buy a thing like that, a box set, and you would write a Valentine's Day card for every one of your classmates. You would have a paper bag, like a little sandwich bag, not a big grocery bag, and you would decorate it in class. That was the thing you would... When I say school, I mean grade school. I don't want people to think I was cool in high school. Okay, I want to make sure people understand that I played guitar. I got booed off stage, but I played guitar. So you would decorate them with like little construction paper harps or whatever, and then you would go around and just drop your notes in everyone's thing, and then and you would get that really, really awful heart candy. But yeah, like that kind of thing where I don't have the game in my head, but there's opportunities there, right? Because when you dump it out, it's just got like all of this wide variety of cards. When you buy them, all you have is like a bunch of Chewbacca's and R2D2s, but like when you, I don't know why the Star Wars ones are fresh in my head, but then when you open them up,
now it's Paw Patrol and Peppa Pig and stuff like that.
But you would have like this big variety of them, which is kind of would be kind of a fun thing. Like, honestly, I'm going beyond games here, and I just want people to bring art cards. I just want to have a party as adults where everyone brings like fantasy art trading cards and just drops them in each person's. Like we all just get like desks and we go around and we just put it in all of our little mailboxes, our brown paper mailboxes, and everyone goes home with a bunch of eidolons for swords. That's all.
There you go.
That's all I want. That's all I want.
Let's follow that idea. I'm imagining a game where part of the, there's a world building aspect. Right.
Yeah.
There's either, a shared set of like little cards, or you have some kind of direction for telling people to bring certain kinds of things. And then, you personalize the things. Maybe that's part of like character creation or something like that.
Right.
Or you come up with like themes, or you come up with a set of like a cast that isn't necessarily people's individual characters, but you kind of have just some like stuff to work with. And then, you put it all in a bag and jumble it up and then dump it all out in the middle of the table. And it's just like a pile of things that people have written on.
Yeah.
Then, maybe it just stays there until someone reaches out and takes a thing out of it, and then it becomes theirs, something like that.
What if? Okay, these need like a good name. Like, okay, here's the thing. I think you and I don't know. Let me just speak about myself individually. I don't want to blame you for any of this. But I think my game instincts always drive towards narrative, right? Like I want a game that presents a story at the end. But what if we throw narrative out the window? We let the game doesn't care about narrative. The game is very much what you were describing there. Like everyone, you have a way of coming up with a character. So it's character creation rules. Everyone makes up characters, but like the idea is that there's 30 of them.
Yeah.
And then everyone, you have like a PDF that's just 30 pages, one for each character. Everyone gets them. And then that in like a month, we're all going to get together and be in this classroom. And we're literally going to do this. And you just write your Valentine's Day cards for all the other characters.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I don't want to say a loot party because that doesn't sound like a trove party. I don't know. Just something where you just end up with this, like, just a celebration of this character that you come up with. So all of that without any trappings of having to be a game, but then, or be a narrative game, right? Like there's characters, but like you could certainly do this by everyone. Like I could see fandoms enjoying this, where instead of doing characters, they're the sort of, I shouldn't speak to fandoms because they're, despite having many friends who are in fandoms, it's still an alien thing to me. But like the particular alternate universe version of the character that they want, right? Like,
sure.
I like Skeletor in a smoking jacket, right? And so that's it. That's your character, Skeletor in a smoking jacket, and then someone else who's playing, Aquaman, who just spends all his time at the beach lifting weights. Can write like a Valentine's Day card for Skeletor in a smoking jacket. Like you just have that kind of mix up. I think that'd be fun, right? Why aren't adults doing this? I guess is what I'm coming down to.
Why aren't adults having fun? That's really our main. That's
right.
really that's what we're all here to ask.
That's the human condition.
Yeah. Something where there's a couple phases. One phase is introducing a character that is there in order to receive Valentines.
Right, yeah.
Right. And then writing little Valentines to these other characters.
Like you could do like the crew of a spaceship. You can all pretend you're all get assigned different parts of the spaceship or whatever, and then come up with your character. Like, here's so and so who's in engineering.
This kind of is connecting for me back to when we were talking about like rituals and giving other players gifts and stuff, where it's like the frame for it isn't necessarily like, in class having the Valentine's exchange and is like the ship or whatever, and it's something where you're writing you're making your log or writing a report or something, right? And the recipient of it is the only person who's going to read it. Like maybe they'll share it or something, but if you're playing the engineer, or you're in charge of the engineering of the ship, or however this is structured, and then I'm the doctor, part of my report is about how the engine, how your expertise with the power systems saved, a patient I had in the med bay that needed a constant, medical field around them to save them or something like that.
When the teleporter turns this person inside out, the two of us working together,
right,
was really to put it back together was a moment. Yeah.
So there's two things there where I'm like, one, this is like, that's an interesting way to think about making a group where you start from the backstory, because we also, a lot of time, the games that we tend to do, we're kind of like, let's not don't play before you play, right? Like, let's sit down and everything at the table is what we're concerned with. But something like this could be a way to create a really cohesive group that has connections in a way that isn't like, okay, now what's your connection to my character, and bonds or anything like that. So that's interesting to me. The other thing that could do is the structure of the game is that you're starting the game with the final reports from the ship, and then revealing, kind of sharing the stories that you are getting from the other players. You're basically telling the entire thing in flashback, right? Yeah. Like you start your game at the end, and then you write up these things. And now I have like 4 little stories that people have told me about how great my character is. And then there's something for turning that into going back over the mission as a group and kind of sharing all those stories. And then at the end of the actual play, you have gone, you've reminisced your way through the whole story of your ship or whatever.
This is like, what is it called? The Mary Celeste? Is that the one that was like, yes, the Mary Celeste is it's just a famous ship that the ship wasn't famous until it was found adrift with no one on board and nobody knows why. In like 1872, as it turns out. But this would be great way to do like a Mary Celeste spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
We know that this ends with nobody aboard, and and the ship adrift in space, and just like we're building the like different. You could do different phases of like. Yeah, no, I'm digging it. I'm really digging. I feel like we could like.
Well, there's two approaches. One, or there are at least two approaches. One is, I think, that where it's like, okay, our story is going to end with the ship adrift with nobody on it, and then you go through this whole process to kind of get there. And then the other, I think, is you
just let it happen, whatever happens.
And there's something where all the events that have happened, you're constructing in real time as part of this like report, and then there's something that follows up on it to kind of give a bit of a resolution to the story, right? Like there's kind of like, and then we went on the final mission, or because this was our final report, it means that we now have to go do this, and that's like the last, and that's the last scene, right? The before credits roll is like going off to do the next thing.
There's a thing in. Okay, I'm going to mention Swords because it's been 10 minutes. But in Swords, there's a phase called the lore phase, which you're not allowed to use during the actual game. And you introduce somebody comes up with a thing like what happened to the people of this abandoned ship, and then everyone else rolls. Well, not someone. You hand the dice to someone, they roll, and they are not allowed to answer the question. They're just supposed to give you a detail, and you just keep doing that until you're satisfied. Or I think if you roll a tie, it's over. So but the whole point to the phase is to keep you off kilter. It won't let you solve the problem.
Right.
This could be very good as like a larger game that does that. Like the problem is this. And now we could tell any story we want, but we can't solve this problem.
Right.
We'll never know what happens to this ship. We'll never know what if the crew stop the cyborgs, let's call them, the cyborg men. But yeah, neat.
And you do it with a pack of greeting cards.
Yes, exactly. Do it with a pack of greeting cards. The things we get up to on Podcation.
I think now there's enough to that idea that now it's kind of like sitting in my head. So success.
Yeah. We did it. The whole point to the podcast. And we did it on the episode where we didn't have anything.
So I think this is probably a good opportunity to check in on some of the things that have been spinning around in those in the back of that big brain of yours. From previous conversations, perhaps. We've been talking about stuff, and we've been getting ideas for things that aren't current projects that we're working on, right?
Right.
So I have something I could talk about, but if there's something in particular that this brings to mind that you would like to share.
I don't know if there's anything at the moment, but something might pop up. Why don't we start with your thing?
Okay. So yeah, something, and I think I've mentioned this in multiple episodes, but I still have something to the idea of using decks of cards with information on them. So not like playing cards, but like custom, made cards.
Yeah.
That I guess teach may be a strong word, but that inform and reveal the world of the game to players as you all play, so that as a way of transmitting lore without having to make people read big books. Right. And also line up the player's investment in what they're doing with knowledge of what else is out there, that kind of thing. So, and I feel like that's that bundle of things. I keep on having like, oh, here's an idea that could work for that, and here's an idea that could work for that.
That's good. Yeah.
So that's fun. Right now, obviously the key to this is actually like writing a setting that has lore, which is my big weakness.
Right.
Which is not the thing that I tend to do, but how I could approach it is from the direction of the information. Like, okay, for the sake of argument, you have a number of decks of cards, and each one is kind of a slice of this world. So I'm thinking like a location, a faction of some kind.
Each deck is
each individual deck. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Or each pile of cards on the table. Maybe they come as like a different thing. But, you know, if we're sitting down to play, we have our like characters and whatever information we all kind of know up front. And then on the table, because we're playing, because we're playing in kind of like a Conan setting, like a Hyperborea, Let's Play kind of a Conan-ish kind of game. So the stacks of cards on the table, maybe one is like Skull Island, one is the One-Eyed Flying Furies, and one is Crom's Regard or something like that. So like there's like a location, like some kind of like faction or set of characters, and then like a thing in the world. And each of these is stacked, right? So they're in a specific order.
Right. You get them from the press in that order. Like, yeah.
And then you turn over the top one of each stack. And so the top one has the common knowledge of that thing that we can expect all the characters to just know from living in this world. And then there's some mechanics on it about like different kinds of characters can have different kinds of interactions with these. So like one character might have a power or an ability or whatever that's about exploration. And so they have something where they can draw. I think there needs to be a distinction between revealing and drawing in this.
Are you drawing into a hand and then you're revealing? Is that the... Yeah.
I'm thinking like, so if a card is revealed, it's put face up on the table next to the rest of its deck that's face down. And everyone can see and interact with the face up card. And then I guess there's probably an affordance for having multiple things that have been revealed. So you have multiple cards face up.
Right.
And then you can draw cards, and that is taking them into your hand, and that's private to you, and then you have a choice about revealing it or not. So one character ability might be reveal the next card, and that's about just getting deeper into the world, just doing things. While another ability would be about drawing a card, and then when you reveal it, something happens. Right. And those are like two different things. So the cards would have to be able to accommodate each individual one being able to do either of those, which is fine. That's like a design challenge about how they're phrased and what they mean in play. But yeah, and then like the person, if this is like a traditional structure GM mini player game, I mean, this could work as the game is the brain kind of game and everyone's playing a character. That's one way it could work, but it could also work in the more traditional structure where the GM has certain prompts or thresholds at which they reveal things, right?
Yeah.
Like when the players, do make a research roll or go to talk to the librarian, then whatever the subject that they're seeking wisdom about, reveal the next card. And that's a GM prompt, not a player level ability.
You could do some fun things with, you have the cards in a specific order when you first get them, right?
Yeah.
And then if the players are doing like a research roll, then
it could be like going down in the stack for like how much you learned, basically.
Yeah, but you can also have like a thing where the GM is pulling off like maybe they roll and they get 3 over what they need. So the GM pulls 3 cards, chooses the one that is most pertinent, hands it to them, and then puts the others back down in the same order on the deck.
Yeah.
So that deeper in the deck gets into like darker, more mysterious lore.
But you might actually skip some things that like
for a while, but eventually you'll have to see them.
I was kind of thinking, some of this is coming from how you were describing how chill works with like having different levels of information based on your role.
Yeah.
But articulating that into these like cards instead of instead of having the GM always be the one who is the arbiter. But then it would be important to have a distinctive GM in that case to make that decision. Which of these is the most important thing for them to learn?
Are you familiar with the game Timeline?
Yeah.
Okay, so Emily has an unpublished game about Milton and Paradise Lost, right? Like she did a whole lot of research, including joining the Milton Society. And one of the things that she was designing it for an academic purpose. And so one of the things that she wanted to do was get people to understand the cultural context of Milton at the time when he did it. So he borrowed the mechanics from Timeline and just had a bunch of events that were important to Milton and the things that he have. And, you have people play Timeline. It's a fun way to kind of learn a little history without like having to memorize it or just reading a timeline.
Sure. Maybe just a quick description of Timeline if our listeners are not familiar.
So it's there's a bunch of different versions of it, but they're basically whatever topic you choose, like inventions or animals or something like that. And you get a deck of cards, and each card has a different thing from that. So inventions might have like the printing press or bricks or the space shuttle. And you put out, I think you start off with one, you just put it on the table, and then everyone else like has maybe one or two cards, and they choose one to put out, whether it goes in. Oh no, I think you don't have a hand of cards. You just have a card in front of you. Well, anyways, the point is, you get a card.
You're taking a card and then you're deciding, did this happen before or after the card that's on the table? And then once there's two cards, okay, does this go before, after, or in between? Or did it happen in between?
Yeah. And like the backs of the cards tell you when they happen, so you can get it wrong. Yeah,
the game is kind of like at a certain point, people are basically like, are kind of guessing.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of a testing it's kind of a trivia knowledge game. Yeah.
And there's like, especially with things like inventions, you're all over the place with them. You don't know. You're like, oh, wow, I didn't know the microwave went back that far, or whatever.
Yeah.
But what you were talking about, what made me think of this is not Emily's game, although that is a really neat way to kind of like describe real life events that had happened that make a cultural context. But what if, hear me out here, what if this was a bunch of cards with just fantasy art on them with fantastic names for the things, like the Battle of blah blah blah, or the Tower of so and so arose overnight, and you assemble the timeline and there's no correct answer. Like you're making history. You're sitting there and thinking. You can have some like reoccurring, because timeline usually covers millions of years. Like it'll go back to like the start of human history, or even before, if it's doing with like animals, like dinosaurs and whatnot. But anyways, but like here, maybe instead of that, you're just dealing with like the 4 generations that came before your characters. And so you have like reoccurring names and families, and you're just deciding when certain things happen.
This is kind of a microscope hack.
Yeah, I'm describing like a style, like Microscope is great for this, but Microscope is very open.
Yeah. This would be a constrained version of kind of, but you could steal some of the architecture from Microscope to do this. Yeah.
I mean, my head being where it's at almost always is that I'm like, maybe we should do it from Swords. Like maybe we should. I see this for Swords. Yeah, like do like a little like here's a pack of art.
It's a scroll. It's like the scroll of the scroll of the world's creation or something like that.
Yeah. And you get to like slap that all together, and because you do that as like you can add little mechanics like the person who has it gets to decide where it goes, but maybe I was just thinking maybe everyone votes or something like that, but you don't want that because you don't want to have 2 possible histories by accident.
There could be something where it's like whoever, like if there's ownership, right, of like the cards, so everyone kind of like when you put one down, that's kind of yours, right? And so we have timeline on the table. You've put down one. I draw another. I have one that I want to put down. And I say, I want to put mine next to this one that's yours, Epi. And then you choose whether it goes earlier or later. Like a pick and choose. Like one person picks the location and the other person picks whether it goes before or after to like create some. I don't know. I think I just think that'd be fun.
You could do things like you put it down after, right? And then if you put it down after someone's, then they get to say if it's because of, in spite of, or unrelated.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think some kind of pick and choose thing where it's like one person picks the other, one person picks what the other person then decides, right? Like, split the cake, you take the piece, that thing.
There's the battle of blah, 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 and then Lord blah, blah, blah sends to the throne. And if you put that before or after, that's interesting. But like if you put it after, and then that person gets to say it's because of that battle or in spite of that battle.
Right.
You get to, like that's Lord blah, blah, blah.
Lord blah, blah, blah. Love that guy.
Yeah, that might be fun.
That might just be a fun game.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll think about that.
You can wait. No, I'm making bad ideas. No, this is good. This is a good idea. But I was thinking, if you have the timeline is the horizontal is time,
Yeah.
and space is the vertical, and then I was like, no, that's not. It's going to be nonsensical to anyone looking at it after a while. Like it won't.
Yeah, I mean, again, like Microscope does that, but not for physical. Like it does that to break out like the eras down into smaller chunks.
It does its Microscope thing, like it zooms in.
Zoom in. That's the word that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Basically, if this sounds interesting and you haven't played Microscope, check it out. Big recommend. Yeah. Yeah. This is starting to get fractal where I'm like, okay, and then each of those events has like a deck that is like the stuff, and then you play that's what you use to play like inside that event or something like that. Which again is a lot of writing for like someone to do, as opposed to doing a free form, like you're coming up with these things yourself as you play.
I realized that if we did this for swords, we could double side them. And it'd be the two tones, like the same event, but the tone.
Either you can place an event or you can flip to the other tone. Maybe
or something like that. Maybe flip an event in front of you to the other tone or something. Or
something like
that. Anyways, there's stuff to happen. We don't have to do it
you
all.
Think about that. So that's good. That's helpful. Yeah. I mean, my main problem with this lore setting thing is having to write some.
Everything is a good idea until you have to fill it in.
Yeah, until you have to do it.
Until you have to put the bullet point, like there's all these bullet points or whatever, and you're like, okay, well those have to become paragraphs now, and I don't want to do that. And
that's the hard part, or alternately, that's the work.
The work, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, that's something I've been ruminating on. Do you have anything in particular that has been kicking around while we've been making you do write adventures instead of games?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if this counts or not, but I'm just gonna I'm still thinking about Lincoln Green. We've talked about that in recent episodes. I've managed to stumble upon kind of a gimmicky idea for. Did we talk? Here's the thing. I don't know.
I know you revised the butt system.
I did. I revised the butt system. So Robin Hood games are. This is apropos to your forthcoming Worldwide Wrestling supplement. Robin Hood games are about sports. People don't. Robin Hood is about sports. People don't realize that. Like the archery he does is
sports
a sport.
And contests.
Yeah. Sports and contests. He's always like wrestling or using quarterstaffs. Like he also brutally kills people. That's another thing from like the old
sport.
Yeah, a sport.
The most dangerous game, as they say.
He also gives them a mighty thrubbing upon the noggin, with his quarterstaff or whatever. So it had always been part of the design goal to make some sort of subsystem for doing that, for why, like, make it fun to do it, make it a reason for it. And just recently, the subsystems I had come up with in the past were Baroque, and I'll let you decide whether that's spelled Broke or Broque. Like, both qualify. They just didn't. They were too abstract. Anyways, I came up with one that was a very good metaphor for archery in particular, and did a lot of things accidentally that I wanted it to do. I mean, there's the thing about game design where you're like, I really want this game to do this thing, and you can work your way towards that and build it that way. And sometimes you're like, I'd like this thing, I have a list of things I want out of this, and then just happen upon a mechanic trying to fix this one bit that slots right into all the other ones, and that's sort of what this did. And then it opened up things while I was sitting fiddling with it and trying to figure out how it plugged into the greater picture, I ended up plugging it in a way that made it important to the game in a way that I wanted it to be. So I was like, oh, this is exciting.
Success.
I'm talking in real abstract terms here, so I don't know how good this is for radio, but it was definitely a moment of I've did a thing that in 10 years I've not been able to do with this game. Like a goal that I had for the past decade, because I just kept spinning my wheels in other directions and not just abandoning the thing that I was spinning my wheels on.
Can you give us a little teaser of what this breakthrough entails?
So the game it uses coins instead of dice. That was just a thing that a constraint I put upon myself many years ago. and I'm sticking to it. But I don't want everything to be 50-50, so there's like a lot of... I won't go into like how all that works. But I was looking at these coins, and I was like, how do I make archery work? And the thing that clicked in my head was you count out the distance between you and the target. Right now, I'm like, every 10 paces you get a coin, unless you're shooting with a longbow. Then it's every 20 paces or something like that, right? Like, so you get a bunch of coins, you get 2 more on top of that, and you throw them all, and you need as many tails as there is distance between you and the target, and then the number of heads you have left over is how well you shot, right? So if you are 30 paces, let's just say 30 paces gives you 3 coins, and then you get 2.
Right.
You're throwing 5 coins, hoping for 3 tails and 2 heads. But it's okay if you get 4 tails and 1 head, or all 5 tails. That just means you shot, but not the best shot.
Yeah.
But since it's a competition, you're not trying to get the perfect number of heads. I mean, I know you want to. I know everyone wants to, but you're trying to outshoot your competition. Right. You don't have to be faster than your friends, just faster than, you don't have to be faster than the bear, just faster than your friends. Now, at that point, with like the 3 and 2, that's pretty close to the middle, because this is I don't want to get too mathy here, but if you throw a bunch of coins, the more coins you throw, the more likely you are to get kind of the even spread of heads and tails, right? Like, it's not guaranteed either way, but like,
it's
the more you do.
Normal distribution?
Normal distribution, yeah. And the thing about that distribution is that with this mechanic is that the farther away the target is, where that most likely result gets further and further away from the number of tails you need to get, right? Like, if you're only doing 30 paces, that's pretty close. Because you're only adding 2 more coins beyond the number of paces.
Yeah. But if you're doing 100 paces and now you're throwing 12 coins,
and
you
expecting
need
10
of them to be tails.
Yeah.
That's a lot harder. Okay.
And there's some ways in the game to get a few extra coins.
Sure.
Like just being proficient in the bow gets you one, and that kind of thing. But then mostly what the game is about, this is going to be in the game, you get jests. That's Jest. I apologize. This is the word. There's a very famous, very old Robin Hood story called The Jest of Robin Hood. It just means the tale or the story of Robin Hood. It sounds like, when you look at it, you think it's like Middle English for guest or something like that, but it's just...
I thought it was like a joke, like a jest, like jester.
Right, yeah. Like, you think of one or the other. But so, in this game, jests are things that you've done that the other players, recognize, that you've decided to write down, right? Like, so you play a session, at the end of every session, everyone's like, you did this thing, and you choose one of those and you write it down. So you end up with like a bunch of jests, and then at the end of each adventure, you choose one from all of those that you've gathered that you carry on to the next one. So the point is that it's a sort of like, I kind of think of it as like this breathing thing where you get a bunch of jests as the adventure goes along. You can play multiple sessions in a single night. That's a whole other thing. I won't get into that now. And then you whittle them down for the next time. Blah blah blah. So every jest you have in archery allows you to Yahtzee style rethrow any of the coins that you need to or want to, right? So you're shooting at this 100 paces away. You throw these 12 coins, 15. Let's say you manage to get a couple extra ones, and then you're like, oh, I don't have enough tails. I'm going to pick up all but one of my heads and rethrow them. Because I have a jest. I have 2 jests, so I'm going to do that twice. The odds then become like having a jest is a really good thing. It gets you closer, a lot closer to what you need. But it like just having a few jests can take like a thing that's like a 75% chance and make it like a 98% chance. Each one feels important, right? Like every time you do those rethrows, you're not thinking, well, overall, I'm likely to get it. You're thinking, I hope I get it this time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and then the other thing about that fits, I think, as the whole is that the best way to get these jests is to play these games like with your fellow outlaws or like capture a bunch of the sheriff's men and bring them back to your bring them back to your camp, have dinner with them, and then force them into an archery tournament with you.
Like
because
once they're drunk or something.
yeah, exactly. Because the only way you can get a jest is that it's got to be something that was witnessed and somebody likely told about, right? Like it has to be part of your reputation.
Is part of it that, whether like presented this way or not, but is part of it like the best way to get jests is to do some of these at lower stakes, right? At lower difficulties, for lack of a better term. Do your archery contest at 20 paces the first couple times to establish that you're the best archer and all the folk. And then when you do the one that's at 100 paces, you have a jest about being a great archer.
Yes.
Which is a little bit of like, you could do really well at low stakes stuff and then totally blow it on the big one and be like, maybe he wasn't as great as we thought, like narratively.
Yeah. 100% all the stuff you said. Also, like, you can get a jest that's like, I remember when you really, really sucked at archery. And that counts as an archery jest.
Sure.
You can still use it, right? Like, and so it's like a fun, like, and that's one you would abandon later on. You could be like, I don't want to, like, remember that one. But then the other thing that I found was really lovely about this is that we were talking about the normal distribution and how everything kind of goes to the center. What that means is, for a lot of the distances you're going to be shooting, if you succeed, your most likely success is the one with your most heads. So it's not like say a more linear thing where it's like roll this or higher to succeed, but then this or higher to succeed really well, and then this or higher to succeed the best, where each of those gets more and more difficult. In this one, it's like, here are the odds of failure, and then the odds of success are much larger. The odds of the critical success is much larger than the normal success. And
interesting.
And like part of that is just, that's what I want. Like that was an accident of the probability. It wasn't a thing that I was like, this will do it. But then when I discovered it, I was like, ooh, that is exactly what I want. Like I don't want you to get into that big archery tournament and then whiff. Right, like that's not my. Right. I don't want you to like get into the big archery tournament and then be shooting the worst shots you can possibly shoot.
I guess it creates the dynamic of when you do the rethrows.
Yeah,
the feeling of doing the rethrow and getting you're more likely to do the rethrow and get the great success because of how the probability works. If the rethrow helps you at all, so like in that particular instance, that feels great because you're like, it was worth me taking that risk because look at
And there's a lovely thing for the person running it, the game warden, where jests are things that only player characters and like super important NPCs have. Otherwise, so like if you go to the archery tournament. And there's just like a sea of archers that you're competing against, they don't get these rethrows.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Because the GM is going to, or the game warden is going to be throwing for like maybe 6 of them, and just putting them all out there. And you don't want them to sit there and try and figure out your rethrows. You just know which ones are eliminated.
Yeah.
And it's as if there's one person with a lot of rethrows and you just kind of whittle them down, which I think is fun too. Like that's matches the fiction that we all know and love.
Cool. Math.
Yeah. Who'da thunk it?
I should probably do something with math at some point. Maybe for a future project. I'll do some math.
Yes.
I think that we've managed to have a podcast.
Yeah, we did. While
on Podcation.
Yeah, on Podcation.
Good work, us. I feel like the Podcation vibe is a combo of we're in the thick of getting the annual done. So that's where our like creative brains are. We had our guest podcast with Nat, which was great.
Yeah.
And then that came after not recording for a while. So we just haven't really had we've had a really big break in our stride. So this is a little bit of coming back, starting to get back to that. But but I think exploring some of these ideas, just talking that's part of what we're doing here. We're just talking shop, just having ideas, talking out what we're thinking, and we love to do it. If you have similar ideas about your games or projects or math, you can come share them with us in our Discord. Is probably the best place, or drop us an email or blue scuss on the sky that is blue.
The blue ski.
The blue ski. Share a blue ski with us. Any Podcation thoughts before we sign off? It's also summer, so like
it's summer, so yeah. I was just trying to come up with a quick homework.
Oh yeah, we should do homework. I put all my books back on my shelves because I finished the zine. So
oh yes,
my books again.
Present a spiral bound one.
Oh great, easy. I can do that.
Yep. I was just looking and I noticed quite a few spiral bounds up there, and I thought, let's talk about some spiral bound games.
Yeah, can do. Mm-hmm. But not my own.
Yeah.
That is
great.
Perfect homework. Perfect Podcation homework. Well, even though we are on Podcation, this podcast is by us, go us. All of our links are at unwrittenearths.com, including the aforementioned Discord and finding us on Blue Sky. You can also send us an email. You can also come over to the Patreon and help support us over there. A lot of these ideas are going to turn into things that go out to patrons. Just, once we're done writing other game things. We have game things that we're going to be doing for patrons very soon. What else is over there? And our itch storefront has gone live. So if you want to pick up some of our back catalog or check out the sample scenario from the annual, get there as well. Our music is by Will Yobst. Thank you, Will. You can find Will's games over at goodluckpress.co. And there's something I forgot to say earlier, which is a lot of this doing games in non-standard format stuff. Adam Bass does a lot of this kind of work, and so if you want to hear more, delve into the back catalog over at the Brain Trust podcast, because Adam and Will talk about this kind of stuff a lot too. So a semi-regular shout out for the Brain Trust, braintrust.rocks, or look up on wherever you get your podcasts. I think we have had a whole episode about having not done this yet. However, Epi, now that you've had a chance to listen to me talk about a game for a while and talk about your own, have we made a game yet?
We are so close.
As per usual, we are so close.
So close.